All right. So again, thank you all for joining me for this webinar on future thinking and how reverse mentoring can drive innovation. Reverse mentoring is such an important tool in today's fourth industrial revolution as we find ourselves now going into another wave of another generation in the workplace. So we're going to talk about how all of this can impact our organizations, employee engagement, as well as that next wave of generation in the workplace. So a little bit about me before we get started. My name is Lakeisha C. Brooks. And if you would like to connect with me, go ahead and put that handy dandy phone up to the screen and scan this QR code. It will send you right to my LinkedIn page and we'll have opportunity to chat. It's also my V card, so you'll have opportunity to have my phone number as well as where I live in Atlanta, Georgia. So please, I would love to connect with you all. So again, just scan the QR code. A little bit about me. I am the managing partner of Brooks Consultants. We've been around since 2012. So we are coming up on our 14th year anniversary, February 29th. We are our 12th year anniversary. And so we're very excited about that. I am a diversity architect. And so this is a term for someone that does diversity at a high level. So if you are someone that does diversity, you work in diversity space, you yourself will probably a diversity architect as well. And there's so many areas and so many ways that you can be a diversity architect. You don't have to be someone like me who is a consultant or someone that's a high level at a VP. You could be someone that you do at a high level in your community, in your church. Anyone can be a diversity architect as well. I am an HR.com advisory board member. And I also do some work with ATD, an org dev committee member as well. So I do a lot in this space. I love what I do, and I'm so excited to see you all here because you all love what you do. So let's talk about why are we here today. Let's talk about some application objectives. The reason why I didn't put learning objectives is because I want you all to take this information away and implement it into your workplace. So when we think about learning objectives, that's something that I just want you to understand. But these are objectives that I want you to be able to implement. So what's the first one? The first application is to clearly define reverse mentoring and distinguish it from traditional mentoring. So we're going to talk about traditional mentoring, but I also want us to understand how does that differ from reverse mentoring. The next thing I want us to do is explore the role of reverse mentoring and how it can spark things like creativity, cultivating learning environments, as well as driving groundbreaking innovations. So I want us to think about how can this idea of reverse mentoring help us in our organization. I also want to investigate how reverse mentoring acts as a bridge. So we have 5 different generations that are in the workplace now. And so how can something like reverse mentoring help to bridge those different generations? And lastly, again, I want to talk about how we can actually implement this. So we're going to talk about practical tools, practical insights. How can you actually establish your own reverse mentoring program? And also with that, I'm going to share with you 2 organizations that are successfully doing it. And I'm also going to share with you the organization that started this idea of reverse mentoring. So as I said earlier, I want us to think about traditional mentoring and how that actually relates to reverse mentoring. So the first thing I want to do is share some stats. 84% of US Fortune 500 companies in 2022 had visible mentoring programs. So that's your traditional program. That is you have someone at the executive level or a leadership level, and they're mentoring someone that's on a different level, a lower level. This could also be peer-to-peer mentoring as well, but it's typically your traditional mentoring program. And that same study said that Fortune 250 companies, that number is about 90%. So it just goes up. And Fortune 50 companies, 100% of them have mentoring programs. So if you are someone that works for a Fortune 500 company or a Fortune 50 company, the likelihood of you having a traditional mentoring program is pretty high. So this is showing that that idea is pretty popular. But in a second, I'm going to talk to you about reverse mentoring, and we're going to look at how popular or not popular that concept is. So let's look at the difference between a traditional mentoring program and a reverse mentoring program. All right. So first, let's look at traditional. As I mentioned earlier, senior talent usually mentors junior talent. So I have put together a few mentoring programs. I've done it for organizations like ATD at our local chapter level. I've done it for nonprofit organizations. I've done it for corporations. And it's typically the same. You have someone that is at a higher level, typically about 2 levels higher, and they will mentor someone that's 2 levels below. They're there to help guide them. They're there to give them the answers, give them advice. It's typically a top-down approach. So again, you'll see the top doing that. They're giving advice. They're driving the movement of the relationship. Typically, they cover a lot of different topics as well. So they'll talk about professional development, personal development. There are times when they even talk about personal life, personal things. They sometimes serve as a coach, a confidant, so many different roles that the traditional mentor may do in this type of relationship as well. You typically see the relationship longer. Most of the programs that I put together are minimum a year. That's what my clients want, so that's what we do. The idea is to nurture and to cultivate that relationship and that trust. And also, it depends on how you match up your mentees and your mentor. Sometimes they don't know each other. So you need a little bit of time to cultivate that relationship, because the idea is, again, to guide, to lead, to give advice. Well, sometimes you build that trust in order to accept that advice from someone. So that's why that relationship is typically a little bit longer as well. So now let's look on the other side of that at the reverse mentoring side. This is where you see your junior talent. They're mentoring someone that's at the senior level. So it goes from that bottom up approach. You have that junior person that comes in, maybe they're entry level, maybe they're mid level, but their job is to now mentor someone that's levels above them as well. And also, it's usually a shorter relationship. And you're probably thinking, why is this a shorter relationship? It's because it's very specific. So you're coming to this organization and you're asked to be a mentor for reverse mentoring. You're asked this because there is a specific need that the organization is trying to address. So it could be things like sales, marketing, it could be all types of things, technology, and they see that there is an area of opportunity. And so that relationship, what you're trying to do is you're focusing on that area of opportunity. So that's the idea, that's the concept, and that's why that relationship is a little bit shorter. The idea is also about mutual learning and collaboration. So it doesn't mean that in a traditional relationship, you're not mutually learning, because you are. But the idea typically is that the mentor is the one that's doing a lot of the teaching and coaching and guiding, and the junior is receiving this. In the reverse, it's reciprocated. And I'm going to talk to you in a second about why it's a reciprocal relationship versus the traditional way as well. So where did the idea of reverse mentoring start? I know a lot of you have heard about GE, the GE model of management and leadership. They are the leader in this stuff as well. So this idea started in 1999. It's not a buzzword, even though we are hearing a lot of it. The idea of this came in 1999, and it was a very strategic approach to the idea of traditional mentoring. So that's how it started as well. And it's about exchanging ideas from junior to senior level, as I spoke about earlier as well. So this idea came from GE in 1999, where the CEO of GE said that he wanted his top 500 managers to each find a young employee to teach them about the internet. Now, I know it sounds so crazy and archaic now, like someone needs to teach you about the internet. But think about it, in 1999, I think I was like 15, 14 years old, and we had this big, ginormous computer. And again, I had to like teach my dad how to use this stuff. So it's the same idea. You needed people to teach you about the internet at that time. And so he said, hey, in order to do this, I need to bring in younger people. So I want you all to find a young person and ask them to teach you and to coach you and to mentor you on the internet. So this is how it started. There's also an article about it, reverse mentoring, learning from the future. So if you are interested in reading and dive into that, I suggest you find the article, really good information as well. And so HR.com is an organization I work a lot with. And so they did a survey in 2022. And remember, I told you Fortune 500 companies, almost all of them have some type of traditional mentoring program. The survey that was done on mentoring in the workplace in 2022 stated that only 9% of organizations had a reverse mentoring program. So think about that. The traditional idea is plentiful. A lot of organizations are doing it, it's very popular, but it leads me to wonder, and I'm sure some of you all are wondering as well, why is it that reverse mentoring has not caught on? Why is it that organizations aren't actually buying into this? And so today I want to talk about some of the advantages, because maybe organizations don't understand why this is something that they want to invest in. Okay, so again, 1999 article, 9%. So very important for us to understand that even though it's been around so long, people still are not buying into this concept just yet. So I'm going to talk about 5 different advantages of you investing in reverse mentoring. First one is creativity and innovation. And I've talked about learning and mutual learning a few times. I'm going to talk about that in greater detail. Collaboration, very important. Recruiting and retaining talent and bridging those generations. So I'm going to start with talking about creativity and innovation. So when you utilize this, it's a really good opportunity to tap into creativity. If I go back and I think about what happened with GE in 1999, it was about being creative. Because at that time, remember, a lot of people didn't know about the internet. A lot of people didn't know how to utilize it. And so GE said, hey, we want to be creative. We want to be innovative. And so we're going to tap into our young professionals in order to do that as well. So even now in modern day, let's say, for example, an executive wants to know, a sales or marketing executive wants to know, how do I attract younger people? Or better yet, what is the latest and greatest in social media marketing? So they may say, hey, we need to put together a reverse mentoring program so we can have young professionals teach us about TikTok or Instagram, and they can teach us those latest and greatest marketing techniques as well. I also like to look at an example of my dad. So my dad has been an auto technician since, I don't know, like 1982 or something. And so he hasn't worked a lot on like electric cars or anything like that. And so if you ask him to do it, he may or may not know how to use all that latest and greatest. So for him, it may be really cool and innovative to have a younger person come in and teach him about that type of stuff. Now, my dad is a boomer. Say, oh, the young people, they don't stay that long and things like that. And I have to show him like that. They can teach you some things and help you be creative and innovative so that you can do your job even better as well. So there's so many opportunities to have that creativity and innovation in your organization by investing in a reverse mentoring program. So let's talk about collaboration. So as we said in the traditional conventional mentoring, the mentor, usually a senior person, they do all the leading and guiding and coaching. And I've seen this myself. I've had these coaching clients, and then we'll do a workshop, for example, and it's great. And I want my mentees and my mentors to participate in the scenarios. And they do, they participate. But the difference is my mentors are actually coaching my mentees on how to get through the scenario. And I want both parties to really collaborate and work together, but they're basically just telling them what to say, telling them what to do. So the reverse mentoring actually sets it up so it is more collaboration as well. You're both trying to achieve a goal. It's very task oriented. It's shorter. So you're focusing, you're laser focused on what you have to do. So you're working together to achieve that goal. So when an organization is investing in this, like GE, for example, I'm pretty sure they said, hey, we want a 6-month program or whatever it is, and I need my senior team to be abreast on the internet in this time period. So you have to work together because you both have a time period to get this done. So you can't get it done if one person's just telling you and you're not reciprocating. So this is why it's so important and imperative to understand that collaboration can really be fostered with reverse mentoring. The next thing we want to talk about is recruiting talent and retaining talent. So when we look at recruiting talent and engaging talent, this is very important because studies have shown that In the next 2 to 4 years, your young professionals likely may leave the organization, right? There's a lot of studies that show, and we see it right here, a Deloitte survey said that a large portion of Gen Z and millennials, and by the way, I'm a millennial, express desires to leave the organization within 2 years. And it's a number of reasons why young people want to leave an organization. You have things like inadequate pay, workplace impact on your mental health. I know all about this. I've experienced this myself. And burnout, also I've experienced this myself. And so reverse mentoring can help as a solution. So people may be thinking, how in the world could that help? So let's think about talent development and talent management. So when we talk about inadequate pay, there are organizations, and you all may work for those organizations, where you're just like, I really want to pay more. I know people are complaining that they're not making a lot of money. I know that people are saying that they want a raise or they want a bonus. I'm sure we've all heard it. I've been there before. Well, reverse mentoring can help you to offer this as a recognition and reward program. So even though, of course, it's not the same as getting more money, it can be a way to say, I recognize the efforts that you're doing. I recognize it. And so therefore, I want to tap into those unutilized resources by saying, hey, this is an opportunity for you to now work with someone that's in the senior leader position. Just think about it. You may not have access to senior leadership when you are a young professional, or you're new to your career, or you're in a junior level. You may not ever get that opportunity. Or maybe you're someone that's like, I don't know how to navigate this organization. So this is a way for you to feel as though you are part of the organization, you belong, and people stay when they feel they belong. So this can help you retain talent by saying, I don't have the money, but what I can do is provide them opportunity to navigate through the organization. And in return, the senior leader should be helping you navigate through your social capital in the organization as well, being able to meet new people. That can lead to a sponsorship, which is a little different than a mentoring program, but that can now lead to opportunities that now when that senior leader has an opportunity and they need someone to work on a project, or there's an opportunity, that person can say, hey, what about my mentor in the reverse mentoring program? That's how you're able to offset monies when you can't afford to actually pay for talent to stay. Also, when we talk about burnout, again, something that I've personally experienced and know a lot about in burnout, burnout can lead to really being disconnected to your job. I mean, it's worse than stress because you feel like you don't want to be at your job, right? And when you think about what's causing a lot of this burnout, it could be a lot of reasons. There may be a lack of autonomy. You're just not satisfied with your job. Maybe there's a lack of creativity. And so what you can do to counterbalance that is reverse mentoring. So what you're doing is you're injecting a new perspective into your role. You're now that autonomy that you're looking for, you now have a little bit more of that, because now you're in control. You're part of this reverse mentoring program, when now you get to lead and drive and collaborate with a senior leader. It's always suggested that about 5% of your day should be on fun projects. And those fun projects usually are things that you just love to do that's outside of your job. This is a program that can help that. So when someone is burnt out and they're stressed and they don't want to be in the role anymore, and you haven't done a stay interview to see what can make them stay, this could be a solution. Now they have extra energy, because even if it's just 5% of their job, that's 5% of the time that they're feeling energized and they're feeling alive at the job. So that's why these things can really help to recruit and retain. So think about if you have on your website or in your recruiting strategies to say, we want to highlight a reverse mentoring program. If I'm a young professional, and technically I still am, I'm still in my 30s, and to know that I have an opportunity to showcase my talents, I may want to work in this organization. I may see that, hey, I may not stay 30 years like my dad or my mom, but the time that I am there, they're going to be able to utilize my talents. They're going to let me get in front of stakeholders in an organization and teach them about marketing or sales or whatever else skills that I may have. And it's also an opportunity, again, to tap into those unutilized resources. So for example, if you hire someone for to work in a DEI role, but you know that they're really good at marketing, or you know they're really good at technology, this is perfect. They can now, it doesn't interrupt their job because they still can do their diversity work. It's not competing with any of that. What it's doing now is giving them an opportunity. And that's what you want when you talk about recruiting and retaining talent as well. So there was an organization in 2013 that implemented a reverse mentoring program. And they were also able to track the ROI of that. I always believe the ROI of all these programs. And they were able to see an impressive 96% retention rate among their millennial employees. That's a big deal because we're seeing with our trending in organizations that young people are leaving. In 2013, I was still a millennial, which I still am, right? So I know that we were leaving in 2013, but this organization was able to keep people because they were able to have this type of program. So the proof is there, is showing you can keep that talent as well. The last area I want to talk about is bridging generations. And I mentioned about my dad earlier, and he's a baby boomer, and he always says, oh, they come, Tisha, and they don't stay, or they don't like something, and next thing you know, they just ghost us. So we've heard these things about millennials and Gen Zs, or we're entitled to all these things, or we're lazy. I've heard it all, right? And then you have that Gen X in the middle, and they're just like, where do we fall, right? So we hear a lot of these things about different generations in the workplace. So right now there's 5 generations. There's silent generations, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. And we all have to work together in organizations. You all have to work together. And also with that, sometimes you may have a Gen Z or millennial who is the manager of a baby boomer or a silent generation. I remember when I first started doing consulting work, I was 29, 30 years old, and people would say, how can you teach me about management and leadership when you're only 29, 30? You know, it's hard for some people to be led by someone who is a lot younger than them, but sometimes that has to happen. So this reverse mentoring program can help to bridge that gap as well. You're going to see that demographic shift in the workplace. So we have to understand that these generations bring unique things to the table. Now, we don't all fit into every single characteristic of a generation, but there's things like events that uniquely bring us together. And that's what uniquely characterizes a generation as well. So this is a good opportunity to learn from each other as well, to really understand that millennials aren't lazy. We aren't entitled. We work hard. We're innovative. We're creative. And I always tell people, you know, that Facebook that you're sitting on, you know, it's created by millennials, right? So we can really be creative and innovative and bring something to the table, and to learn from someone who may be more senior. We can learn about longevity and loyalty to a company, or learning how to navigate through the organization. So there's so much that we can learn from each other. And I always say, don't just learn about someone and what they do, learn about who they are as a person too. Because you really get to learn a lot of things about people once you're put together, and do it with intentionality. So when you are meeting with your mentor or mentee, whichever side you're on, really intend to get to know them. Again, get to know them a little bit better. You don't want to just be super nosy or anything like that, but you want to get to know them as people, to understand, like, wow, you know what, I didn't really know that. Or ask about the stereotypes. Like, can you just tell me, what are some stereotypes that people say about baby boomers, or people say about millennials, and laugh about it, say, that's ridiculous, right? And just really get to know each other, because you're going to be able to foster a better working relationship. And what it ultimately does is lead to better collaboration. It leads to people staying in the organization. It leads to creativity, innovation. All these things together is what a reverse mentoring program can do. So let's think about, if you're interested and you say, hey, Keisha, this sounds so great. I think I want to do it. We love our traditional one, but let's tap into that reverse mentoring program. So I want to talk to you all. What are some of the steps that you want to do when trying to implement a reverse mentoring program? And it's very similar to a traditional mentoring program as well. So let's look at some of these steps. First, what is the need? Remember, when we talk about reverse mentoring, it's very specific. So what is your need? Is it marketing, sales, technology, communication? What is the need? Why is it that you're doing this? And this could be anything, right? I always say start with the why. But why do you need this in your organization? And then you want to talk about, what are the goals What are we trying to achieve? What are some metrics? Always have that data there as well to see what's working, what's the impact as well. How long would this be? When I worked at a law firm, one of the things that I wanted to do is I noticed that some of our senior legal staff really didn't know a lot about technology at all. And I said, hey, I want to put this program together. I'm noticing that we're in the fourth industrial revolution. So we need to learn about technology. We need to know. And this is like, I mean, AI was still out, but like, it wasn't like it is now. So I said, we really need to know about AI, virtual reality, augmented reality, these things. We don't need to be gurus in it, but we have to have some type of understanding of that. And so I said, hey, let's put together a 12-week program to learn about it. So again, how long will it be? And will it meet the need that you're trying to achieve as well? What are the requirements? There should always be requirements for mentors and mentees as well. You can put together an application of some sort. And then how will you solicit those? I've seen everything from, emailing out on their Teams channel or Basecamp or whatever internal system they use as well. So again, getting those people to be a part of it, you got to get them excited about it as well. One of my clients, we're doing a coaching program, mentoring program, and I wrote some really good copy for them, so that they can get people excited. We were like, we want people to be excited about this program. So you need to write it in such a way that people see that it's not taking time off the floor. Because a lot of people say, I would love to be a mentor mentee, but I don't have time for that. I'm super busy. But what's in it for them? And that's always the question you want to ask. What's in it for me? It's what's in it for me as the mentee or mentor, but it's also what's in it for the organization. So you have to be able to answer those questions when you're trying to solicit people to be a part of this program as well. And then you want to pair them and train them. So you don't want to just throw people together. I've seen so many mentoring programs where they throw people together and say, have at it, have fun. You need to train people as well. Even if it's just a quick orientation, I always do this with my clients. Have a quick orientation. Here's what it means to be an ideal mentee or mentor, right? Just so they know this is what it means. That's why you also in that training, you establish those guidelines, cadence, stuff like that. But you want people to know, what exactly am I doing? What is the expectation? So you set that training up. And you'll see I do about a 90-minute orientation, 2 hours max, to kind of do a quick training and things like that. And then when you establish those guidelines and you're incorporating that into the program, you need to evaluate and monitor what you're doing. I've had times when people say, I do not like my mentor. I do not want to work with them. That happens. You have to be prepared for that to happen. So this is why you have to keep evaluating and monitoring the program, because you may have to readjust. You may have to put somebody with someone else. I've had a situation where someone quit the organization because they were able to move on. It was a successful and happy divorcing of that situation. But then we had someone that didn't have a mentee. So this is why you don't want to just do the program and say, have fun, see you in 6 months. You want to continue to be a part of that process. And then celebrate the success of this program. You're putting all this data together. You're evaluating it. You monitor it. It's a success. And it should be something that you can replicate later. I have a client now. We're in our 4th year of our mentoring program. So this is something that you should be able to say, hey, here's the next class, And it may not be every year because you may not have a need every year, but it should be something that once you're ready to go back to the drawing board, you already have your template because you already know what works. So this is what you want to do when you're trying to implement that reverse mentoring program. And I know I made it sound pretty easy, but it is a lot of work. I will tell you that. A lot of my clients, I work with their task force. So it's usually not just one person. I'm working with at least 2 to 3 people to make these programs happen. So before you do all that, make sure you have people that are on board with you, people that are going to help you roll this out, people that are going to be advocates and champions for you as well in this program, and then start doing all the work that it takes to do this. So I want to talk about 2 organizations that have successfully done that and are still doing it. I know we talked about GE, who started this whole thing, which is great, but I want to talk about some organizations that have continued to do this work. Okay, so Harvard Financial Services. Harvard saw that, again, there was changing in technology. And technology is one of the most common topics that people focus on for reverse mentoring. but it can be other things as well. And so they said, hey, you know, social media technology is now part of everybody's lives. And so they wanted to understand how can they better leverage technology. So some of the executives at Harvard believe that some of the baby boomers were just now beginning to recognize the power of social media and technology. And they wanted to know, well, how do I apply this to what I do? Okay, because they were like, we're seeing all these people, they're understanding it. And we need to understand how to do this in our jobs as well. So what they decided to do is put together this program, the reverse mentoring program. And it was sponsored by their CEO, because again, you have to have that buy-in. So that's why I said, yeah, you can do it yourself. That's great. You can hire me and we can do it together, but we have to have people that are advocates and champions for it. And so this organization said, we need our CEO to help champion this program for us. And so they were able to do that by having him sponsor that as well. So they took people that are early in their career to monitor somebody, and they paired them up with an executive. Can you imagine if you are someone early in your career and you get to partner with a VP or COO? Oh, wow. And you are the person that's mentoring them in something that you know well. That I may stay with the organization after that, right? Because now I have that relationship, especially if I do a great job and what I did led to something. That could be really exciting for someone. So they had the opportunity to do that. And they started to experiment with different products and services and things like that, and applications. And they had 6 meetings, and they talked about how they can use it in an organization. So again, they said, how long would this be? So I don't know how long the 6 meetings were, but they had 6 meetings as well. And so they were able to establish things and creating LinkedIn profiles for executives. So for some of us, we're like, oh, that's easy. But think about it. I'm thinking about my 71-year-old dad. If I said, Dad, you have a LinkedIn profile, he'll say, I don't even know what that is. What is that? Right? So we have to think about something that's easy for us as younger professionals may not be so easy for someone who's never experienced that. They're great at their job. I bet you these executives, like, they can kick ass at their jobs, but they don't have a LinkedIn profile. Maybe they didn't have it at that time. So they said, hey, let me help you. I can help you do that as well. And so they were able to also learn how to do that. And the mentee was able to then teach the mentor about organization stuff. They gave them career advice. They helped develop it. Again, a reciprocal relationship as well. So that's what it's really all about. And so they were able to collaborate. They were able to build this relationship with each other. And so this was a very successful program that we saw here at the Harvard Financial Service Group. So let's look at another organization. We have Heineken as well. They also have had a reverse mentoring program, and they've had their program since 2021. And so what they wanted to do was they wanted to bridge the gap between those senior marketing executives and young consumers. So think about it. Senior level executives, they're probably late 50s, 60s, 70s, and they want to know, how do I connect with younger consumers? What is it that they want? What is it they want to see in advertisement? What kind of music are they listening to? What are they wearing? Again, these senior executives have no idea. They've probably been doing their job for so long and they're really good at it, but now the times have changed. Music has changed, how we connect has changed. So, I mean, I saw something on social media where some lady was talking about something and made like 6 figures just talking about something on TikTok. Like, times have changed. So they want to know, how can I connect to our younger consumers who may be on TikTok, making money, influencing people and things like that. So they went to their junior employees and they said, hey, I want you to teach us about what's happening in the customer trends. Like, what are we seeing? What's emerging? What should we be on the pulse of as well? Because again, these junior employees are probably on TikTok. They're on Instagram. They probably are influencers in their part-times or whatever they're doing, right? So they know. And if they're not doing it, they have friends that are. So they're able to implement that information into the organization as well. They also asked their junior employees about social media preferences, lifestyle choices. They wanted to help their senior executives understand how to market their strategies accordingly. So again, they could have went out and hired a consultant, a big wig marketing company to say, hey, can you tell us what's going on? They said, no, we want to tap into our own talent, again, helping to retain them We want to tap into the talents we already have, because the research that you've done, bigwig marketing company, the people that you talk to are right here in my organization. So instead of us going out hiring someone to do market research for us, let's do it internally. Let's ask the people that are actually living this life. Let's ask the people that are consumers of this type of industry and things like that. So they emphasize the significance of adopting this type of approach where they focus on their customer. And they knew that some of their customers are right there in the building. Some of your customers are your employees. So tap into them, ask them, they're able to help as well. So this has, for the last 3 years or so, helped them be relevant, help them understand what's happening in the changing consumer market, because they're tapping into their talent by doing the reverse mentoring program as well. So again, this is why it's super important to understand that traditional mentoring programs are great. Again, I've rolled out a few of them. I understand they're very important. But if we also really want to engage in that younger generation, who we know studies have shown us are going to leave organizations or feel compelled to leave, studies also show that young professionals, Gen Zs, will have about 10 different jobs. So why not tap into the potential that they have while they're with you as well to help you in your organization? And it also will help you fuel a very rich pipeline of talent as well. So let's talk about some key takeaways here. Again, creativity, innovation. You can really breathe creativity in your organization by having a reverse mentoring program. You have people that have these really great innovative ideas. They're tapping into their talents that maybe they're not using in their job, and they're bringing it to your organization as well. You have this culture of learning. I love learning. I'm an L&D person at heart, so I love. So I love to see that people are learning and they're working together to learn from each other. The days of it's my way, or we've always done it that way and we don't want to learn anything else, those days are gone. And if an organization will continue to have that mindset, they're not going to grow. So you have to have an organization that says we want to learn from each other. And when we learn from each other, what do? We collaborate. We're sharing information. Again, I'm helping the senior leader. They're helping me. We can collaborate. It helps everybody in the organization to collaborate and work together. And the next one, we see this magnet. This reverse mentoring program can really attract. It's magnetic. It has people say, it says, I, as a young person, am empowered in your organization. You give me a voice. You give me a sense of belonging that otherwise I don't get. When I'm a young professional, I come into an organization, I'm just a number. I don't feel like a number here. I feel like I provide value to an organization. And we know people stay in organizations where they feel valued, where they can feel empowered. So this is what reverse mentoring can do. And it also bridges generations. So all the stereotypes and the biases and all that stuff that we see or that we feel or that we've experienced, will it ever go away? Probably not. But can it alleviate some of that? Absolutely. Because there are times when I have to teach my dad, I mean, we're not lazy, Dad, you guys aren't all stubborn and stuck in your ways. You're bridging that gap to better understand each other, to have a more collaborative, creative culture for learning that can recruit talent and to retain our talent as well. So I want to see, are there any questions that you have? I'm going to check the chat and see if there's any questions that we have. And if you also want to get off mute, you can as well. And while you're thinking about your questions or putting them in the chat, I want to talk about our next webinar. So if you like this information and you want more type of information to talk about employee engagement, awareness, diversity, equity, inclusion, then you're going to love our next webinar as well, because we're going to talk about mindful money. And we're going to talk about how you can nurture employee mental health with financial wellness. And remember, study shows that people feel burnout. It also showed that a nice percentage of Gen Z and millennials are leaving because of inadequate pay. And they're also leaving because of mental health. So we're going to talk about how can we alleviate some of that stress and burnout and that mental health angst by fostering and focusing on financial wellness. And I do believe that we have our presenter for our next session on with us. And if you're interested in registering for this, please go ahead and scan the QR code here. It will take you right to that session. You can register right there. So let's see, do we have Mr. Jamin here to talk a little bit about what they can expect in that next webinar? Jamin, are you here with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon. Great presentation on reverse mentoring. Definitely love that. Yes. So mindful money. I will be discussing nurturing employee mental health and its connection with financial wellness. I think actually, I don't think I know, there's a more conscientious effort out there now to advocate for employees and some of the financial resources that they need. Great progress has been made, but there's a lot more opportunity out there to, again, further advocate for employees, to further provide financial education, resources, and workshops. And it's a mutually beneficial endeavor where both, of course, the employee is going to benefit with the information, education to apply in their own personal life, but of course, the employers benefit as well, just as it relates to the cost of absenteeism, presenteeism, right? And a lot of these can be drilled down to financial concerns on the employee level. So definitely looking forward to going deeper into that. And for that event, Mindful Money, March 27th. Definitely looking forward to that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie, for that. All right. So again, thank you to everyone who joined us today. And here is the recertification credit information. So we have recertification credits for all three: SHRM, HR, CI, and ATD. So if you're a member of any of these and you need to get your recertification credits, here it is. So we will have access to all of this. So don't worry, you don't have to write this down if you don't want to, because I'm going to show you where you don't have to do that. But if you do, here it is. And then you'll get a certificate of completion for ATD. That's how you're able to show that you were here today. And these are the activity IDs for those particular other organizations as well. So hopefully everybody's getting their recertification credits as well. So here, if you want to connect with us on social media, please, again, pull out your handy dandy phone and scan for us as well, and it will connect you to all of our social media. And lastly, as I mentioned, you didn't have to write down any of the information for the recertification credits because you have a copy of the slide deck here, and the information for the recertification credits is actually there. So if you want to download the slide deck, you can do that. It's in PDF form, so you'll already have it. There also will be an email sent out with the recording of today's session as well. So I want to thank you all so much. We look forward to seeing you again next month. And also, if you're really, really, really excited about what we're doing, you have to come to our session also in April, where we talk about AI and using AI in HR service and solutions. So thank you all so much. Again, I am Lakeisha C. Brooks of Brooks Consultants, and we look forward to seeing you again in March.